Dasi. Jaya Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada.
So reading from the great art of distributing Srila Prabhupada's books, our family business, so start from, how is Srila Prabhupada's business plan transcendental? First, Srila Prabhupada's books are by nature transcendental. They are transcriptions of his personal kirtan. Anyone who reads these books contacts a vibration saturated with spiritually uplifting potencies, words vibrated by pure devotee of Krishna. Regarding the special nature of such words, Prita Maharaj says, "My dear Lord, you are glorified by the selected verses uttered by great personalities. Such glorification of your lotus feet is just like saffron particles. When the transcendental vibration from the mouths of great devotees carries the aroma of the saffron dust to your lotus feet, the forgetful living entity gradually remembers his eternal relationship with you. Devotees thus gradually come to the right conclusion about the value of life. My dear Lord, I therefore do not need any other benediction but the opportunity to hear from the mouth of your pure devotee." Second, Srila Prabhupada's books contain whatever he wished to say to his disciples and to future generations of searching souls who would come to the path of Krishna consciousness. In his line, Krishna consciousness in his line, he writes, "Whatever I have to speak, I have spoken in my books. Now you try to understand it and continue your endeavor. Whether I am physically present or not present doesn't matter. The opportunity to have the complete instructions intact and in one place of such an accomplished contemporary master of devotional service is rare in this world. As time passes and devotees assimilate and apply the instructions found in these books and then pass them on to others, his gift to humanity will be even more profoundly felt. A compilation of spiritual knowledge, like we have in Srila Prabhupada's books, gives the clearest guidance possible on the path of spiritual advancement." Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So starting from the next paragraph, which is third. So it says third Srila Prabhupada's books represent. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 5, Chapter 18, Text 39.
This is only translation, and then we begin the next chapter.
Yeah. So read a few. Well, maybe just we're chanting. I'll just go through the verses until verse 2 and the chapter summary as well. So, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Brahmachyam Daityam Prativarnanam Vimite Yamam Prasaya Jagadati Atsukara Bhagavatam Sri Narathat Buddhavatam Vidam Nivedya Iviva Anakasmi Tam Iti. My Lord, as the original war within this universe, you fought and killed the great demon Hiranyaksha. Then you lifted me to the earth from the dark ocean on the end of your tusk, exactly as a sporting elephant plucks a lotus flower from the water. I bow down before you. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta couplets of the 5th canto, 18th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled Prayers Offered to the Lord and the Residents of Jambudri. Chapter 19, a description of the island of Jambudri. This chapter describes the glories of Vash, and it also describes how Lord Ramachandra is being worshipped in a tract of land known as Kimpurusha Varsha. The inhabitants of Kimpurusha Varsha are fortunate because they worship Lord Ramachandra with his faithful servant Hanuman. Lord Ramachandra exemplifies the incarnation of Godhead, who descends for the mission of Parichanaya Sadhanam Vinashaya Diskrisham, protecting the devotees and destroying the miscreants. Lord Ramachandra exhibits the actual purpose of an incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the devotees take the opportunity to offer loving transcendental service to him. One should surrender fully to the Lord, forgetting one's so-called material happiness, opulence, and education, which are not at all useful for pleasing the Lord. The Lord is pleased only by the process of surrender unto him. When Devashi Narada descended to instruct Salmani Manu, he described the opulence of Bharatvash, India. Salmani Manu and the inhabitants of Bharatvash engaged in devotional service to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the origin of creation, maintenance, and annihilation, and who is always worshipped by self-realized souls. In the planet known as Bharatvash, there are many rivers and mountains, as there are in other tracts of land. Yet Bharatvash has special significance because in this tract of land there exists the Vedic principle of Varnashram Dharma, which divides society into 4 varnas and 4 ashrams. Furthermore, Narada Muni's opinion is that even if there is some temporary disturbance in the execution of Varnashram Dharma, and the Varnashram Dharma principles, they can be revived at any moment. The effect of adhering to the institution of Varnashram is gradual elevation to the spiritual platform and liberation from material bondage. By following the principles of Varnashram Dharma, one gets the opportunity to associate with devotees. Such association gradually awakens one's dormant propensity to observe the Supreme Personality of Godhead and frees one from all the basic principles of simple life. One then gets the opportunity to offer unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Lord Vasudeva. Because of this opportunity, the inhabitants of Bharatvash are praised even in the heavenly planets. In the topmost planet of this universe, Brahmaloka, the position of Bharatvarsha is discussed with great relish. All the conditioned living entities are evolving within the universe in different planets and different species of life. Thus one may be elevated to Brahmaloka, but then one must again descend to earth, as confirmed in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Akrumala Rupanaloka, Punar Juna. If those who live in Bharatvarsha rigidly follow the principles of Varnashram Dharma and develop their dormant Krishna consciousness, They need not return to this material world after death. Any place where one cannot hear about the Supreme Personality of Godhead from realized souls, even if it be Brahmaloka, is not very congenial to the living entity. If one has to take birth in the land of Bharabhasha as a human being, if one who has taken birth in the land of Bharabhasha as a human being does not take advantage of the opportunity for spiritual elevation, his position is certainly the most miserable. In the land known as Bharabhasha, even if one is a Sarvakama Bhakta, a devotee seeking the fulfillment of some material desire, he is freed from all material desires by his association with devotees, and ultimately he becomes a good devotee and returns home back to Godhead without difficulty. At the end of this chapter, Sri Shukadeva Swami describes to Maharaj Parikshit the 8 sub-islands within the island of Jamadri. Text 1.
The translation.
Translation. Sri Shukadeva Swami said, "My dear king, in Kim Purusha Varsha, the great devotee Hanuman is always engaged with the inhabitants of that land in devotional service to Lord Ramachandra, the elder brother of Lakshman and dear husband of Sita Devi." I'll just quickly go through the prose and translation. Arshtisya Nena Saha Gandharvan Anudiyamanam Kalyanam Vrachi Bhagavat Katham Samupasrinoti Swayam Chidam Gayati Ashtishenena
Ashtisena,
the chief personality of Kim Purusha Varsha.
the chief personality of Kim Purusha Varsha,
Saha with
Gandharva,
by a company of Gandharvas.
by a company of Gandharvas, Anugiyamanam,
Being chanted.
Paramakalyanim,
Most auspicious.
most auspicious.
Bhatri Bhagavat Katam.
Bhatri Bhagavat Katham,
The glories of his master,
the glories of his master,
who is also the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
who is also the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Samupasrinoti,
He hears with great attention.
he hears with great attention.
Swayamcha,
Swayamcha,
and personally.
Idam, this, Gayati, chants.
Translation. A host of Gandharvas is always engaged in chanting the glories of Lord Ramachandra. That chanting is always extremely auspicious. Hanumanji and Arshtisena, the chief person in Kim Purusha Varsha, constantly hears those glories with complete attention. Hanuman chants the following mantras. In the Puranas, there are 2 different opinions concerning Lord Ramachandra. In the Laghu Bhagavatamrita, this is confirmed in the description of the incarnation of Manu. Vasudevadi Rupanam Avatara Prakirtita Vishnu Dhammatali Rama Lakshmana Jya Pramadantani Patvetu Rama Bhagavan Narayana Itir Rita Shesha Chakram Shankascha Pramat Shil Lakshmanadaya Madhya Desha Stitara Yudhya Purishya Vastsati Usrita Maha Vaikuntha Lokecha Ragavedrasya Kirtita. The Vishnu Dhammatara describes that Lord Ramachandra and his brothers, Lakshman Bharat and Shatrugna, are incarnations of Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Prajna, and Aniruddha, respectively. The Padma Purana, however, says that Lord Ramachandra is an incarnation of Narayan, and that the other three brothers are incarnations of Shesha, Chakra, and Shankar. Therefore, Srila Baladev Vijayabhushana has concluded, Tad idam kalpa vedinaivam sambhavyam. In other words, these opinions are not contradictory. In some millenniums, Lord Ramachandra and his brothers appear as incarnations of Vasudeva, Sankarshan, Prajna, and Aniruddha, and in other millenniums they appear as incarnations of Narayan, Shesha, Chakra, and Shankar. They appear as incarnations of Narayan, Shesha. The residence of Lord Ramachandra on this planet is Ayodhya. Ayodhya city is still existing in the district of Hyderabad, which is situated on the northern side of Uttar Pradesh. I'm going to notice the
Devi Chapratilana Bhavate Namo Namah.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Krishna Shiva Saraswati Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Rama. So I've been asked to give class today and request the mercy and blessings of the devotees that I may say something that may inspire be worthy of listening to. So we're so fortunate to hear about, be one of those residents of Bharatvarsha, or hear the glories of Bharatvarsha as it is today, to be able to come to the point of fully surrendering to the Lord. As it said in the chapter summary here, how the Lord is only pleased by the process of surrender unto Him. So that process of surrender is one being engaged in hearing, chanting the glories of the Lord, praying to Him, or serving His lotus feet, and eventually become His friend. And we, in this marathon, we have that opportunity to serve our best friend Krishna by distributing as many books as possible, engaging conditioned souls, so that He may be pleased by this, because of serving His mission. And in this way, we're pleasing the spiritual master as He's instructed us to perform this service, and by pleasing the spiritual master, then it's only a matter of time before we become eligible to fully surrender, have the ability to fully surrender to the Lord and be eligible for the desired success, which is Krishna Prema, pure love of Krishna. It says also how so-called material happiness, opulence, and education, which should be forgotten because they're not at all useful for pleasing the Lord. So, sometimes we can use by what we material happiness, opulence, and education in the service of the Lord. This is a perfect use of it. But if we find ourselves not so educated or opulent or subject to uh, misery and not feeling ourselves so happy, but just by surrendering to the Lord and engaging His service, like when we're on the street, we can be always chanting, remembering the Lord in this way. I personally find it easier to do that when I'm learning a melody for a Hare Krishna melody. So just by practicing that and then putting my heart into it, then time flies by and people appear who want to be engaged, or who are happy to be engaged. Whereas by with not doing that, then we're just conscious of all the people that say no and may get morose because we're not feeling um, we've got nothing to show for what we're doing, being out, nothing to show for being out there, and think of all the reasons to become negative. But when we engage in Krishna consciousness in this way, chanting the Lord's name, remembering the form of the deity, how beautiful they are, and their pastimes, until they've directly impacted our life in such a positive way. And we've only to have the desire to be able to share that, to give others the opportunity of that in their lives. And in this way, we have this yajna, then it fulfills the purpose of our human life. So when the Lord is, so the Lord appears just to deliver the devotees and annihilate the miscreants. But even the miscreants are reluctant or unwilling devotees of the Lord. And so in this way, in this day and age, the Lord doesn't come and destroy by killing the demons, but in the form of Lord Chaitanya, He comes to destroy the demoniac mentality. In previous ages, the demons were on different planets, and then in different countries, and then now it's just in the same body. We find we have the demon and devotee within. So Lord Chaitanya's, Lord Nityananda, as the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, would plead with it, go door to door and plead with the householders to please chant the name of the Lord. And this seemed to be the time of the day when they could get someone to chant and they'd become in ecstasy. The devotees would roar, Haribo, like that. And so now we're our sanctum is to just try and get the mercy of the Spirit, the pure devotee, in the form of his words, in his books, in the hands of those who have forgotten all about Krishna as we once had, and so that the Krishna consciousness may be revived. And they'll be also fortunate one day to be able to hear Bhagavatam and its glories. So So there's so much suffering in this world, and before, years ago, there's so much, fear of disasters, catastrophes, hunger, and so on. And it always used to happen in other countries, and it's just somewhere else that you give charity to, and things like this. But now we see so much is happening on our doorstep with natural disasters of flooding, and right now there's a band of areas of northern England and Scotland just without any heating and no gas or electricity. And so, like, there's one account of them having to go into their car to get warm. So, the advance of Kali Yuga, with the advance of Kali Yuga, this is becoming a common occurrence all over the world. And people wondering why this is happening. They're blaming the electricity board and the electric board is wondering how this is happening, but they don't realise that in their endeavour to enjoy, they're performing so many simple activities that mean that so much suffering is due to them. They're not just trying to enjoy, but the fact that they're trying to enjoy independent of Krishna. So there's nothing wrong with being enjoying. It's the nature of the soul to be, the soul is pleasure seeking, but the proper way of doing that is by serving the Lord, and in this way one can enjoy natural happiness. And the nature of the spiritual soul is is to be eternally complete bliss and perfect knowledge at every moment and ever increasing, increasingly so. But that only comes in when one is connected. One is connected with the source of that, who's Krishna. And by being dependent on his will, dependent on his instructions, by following his instructions, we become dependent on him. And in this way, he takes care, as he does, like he shows in his incarnations. Like he appears as Lord War to save the planet Earth by the end of his tusks. And he does it in such a dramatic way. And he doesn't do it without a fight. And in this way, he's enjoying. He likes, just like someone likes to be the hero and save someone from difficulty, or it's nice to be able to assist someone in some way. As I said, there's more happiness in giving than receiving. So when one does a good deed, they find more satisfaction in that. So the Lord is giving the example here. So as we endeavour to give others happiness in the form of Srila Prabhupada's books, just on the energy about us, they can sense that we're trying to see their ultimate welfare, see to their ultimate welfare. We want their ultimate welfare, the ultimate good for them. So people who are open, who can sense this, and willing to take whatever we've got to offer. And in this way, they experience a genuine relief from the suffering that they're undergoing. Or they experience that this is real happiness, what they're experiencing isn't the genuine thing. So this is the real way to relate to anyone, each other and others, to relate in the sense with the knowledge that Krishna is the controller, he's the enjoyer, and the source of everything. So when we always have that in mind, then we can expect the best from the person. But we have so many unwanted habits and maybe um, misconceptions about how we should relate to others, and so it can come from the platform of false ego. But perfect way is to have this knowledge of the absolute truth that Krishna is the enjoyer, Krishna is the controller of everything, and Krishna is the source of everything. And in this way, then there can only be auspiciousness. Even in so-called kind of schisms, or if we don't get on with a particular, there's always someone we may not get on particularly well with. But with this in mind, we can expect that someday, just by practicing doing the right thing, relating in the right way, hearing from others how to do so if we're having difficulty, then then Krishna will appear in the form of truth, in the form of nice interactions. So in this way, devotees pray to be controlled by the Lord, and the way they're controlled is by following His instructions. And this way, we incorporate, when we follow in that way, then we're giving the best cooperation we can to be able to be a better servant in association with devotees. And then when we please the devotees, we're pleasing Guru, we're pleasing Krishna. Devotees sees their servant as Dasa, and Das. When one can be the direct servant of, say, like Mother Yashoda, but if we're the servant of the servant of the servant of the servant of so many times of Mother Yashoda, then we're pleasing so many devotees, and we're pleasing her. So this way, the lower we are down on the rank and file, then the more opportunity we have to please many devotees. And the only thing that gets in the way is our mind with its own ideas, its own perspectives on things, trusting our imperfect senses, and as we do, make mistakes and subject to illusion. So we have to always be on guard of the mind, and when the ego is involved, then arrogance is there, and pride. And in this way, with Krishna's mercy, we will get taught a lesson.
Yeah.
And these lessons may come very harsh, and maybe something hard to tolerate, but then it's just a lesson, and there's no need to be down on oneself for making such mistakes, as long as we take it as a lesson. As I read Jagan, we need not be morose about the past, so many things we may have done, but not to see them as, to see it as a lesson, not to continue as if it's a life sentence that we don't deserve anything for it. We're always Krishna's loving servant, and Krishna's always, he wants us back more than we want to go back to the spiritual world. So there's no need for us to be despondent. There's always the same ground that we fall on, it's the same ground that lifts us up. So we're so fortunate associated devotees to have that strength to keep us going, because we won't be able to make it without that association. So I'll stop there. If there's any comments or questions or reflections, what you have to share.
You going back a bit when you first got the information on the screen, you were talking about Jambudvi, the islands of Jambudvi. Sukadeva Swami was talking about it to the sages. How does Sukadeva Swami know about islands in space, or how do they know that? How do they know about the islands in space?
Well, this knowledge is passed down from Krishna and through Guru Parampara, and Shukadeva Goswami was a disciple of Vyasadeva. So, and Vyasadeva, he was told to, he's wondering, he wrote all the Vedas, and but he was still not satisfied. And Narada Muni appeared to him, and knowing his despondency and knowing the reason why, but he inquires. Vyasadeva expressed his feeling of lacking, even though he'd written so much. And Narada Muni revealed to him that it was because he hadn't described the glories of the Lord in as in Srimad Bhagavatam. So then, in his maturity, he sat in meditation, and everything was revealed to him. There may be another answer as well.
That's a nice answer. As I said, when he went into meditation, he became aware of the material energy. So in that way he was able to, I guess you say, speak about all of the different situations.
Before the creation, as well as
I mean, when you get that advanced to that standard, then everything can be revealed like that. These even planetary systems, where they're situated and so forth, upper, middle, and the lower, and they get that revealed to them. And it's, I know Prabhupada says it's the only source of really understanding the universal situation, and I've read him saying that many times. So when we become more advanced to that degree, they're empowered to understand through revelation coming from, as you say, the Parampara, Krishna, Brahma, right down. And they get that understanding about even the planetary systems. And they accept it when it's spoken for the Parampara like that. Jambudvipa, these islands.
Yeah. But
I mean, you're not ordinary. Sukadeva Goswami is obviously not an ordinary person. That's what I mean. And he had that understanding.
it's also said how, we may read about it, but we may not understand it. Because it hasn't been revealed to us, or those elevated souls, even the elevated souls could see it differently according to their consciousness, from what I understand. So they're trying their best in that. And with a lot of research, they're building the structure of the universe and the Vedic temple and the Vedic planetarium, where people can come visit and see, have a visual idea. But it says, like here, it says there are islands, and then but then you see how on the Bhagavatam ocean, these universes are like bubbles, spheres, and then they say there are islands here. So how is an island at the same time a sphere? So, yeah. Well, that's, as far as I know. They say that there's different tracts of land. So, there was one pilot or one scientist who navigated by another way other than the contemporary method. And he went over the Arctic, and then all of a sudden everything became tropical. You've seen mammoths and things like this. And he went away. He came back to his fellow scientists. Admiral Byrd, his name is. He went to his fellow scientists and told them of his discovery, and they certified him insane and sent him put him in an asylum. Because it was out with the status quo of their, and it was, so this wasn't something they could explain, so they didn't want to, send him. You see how when things like before, like archaeologists would find human footprints alongside dinosaur footprints, and again, they were out of a job because it was against the status quo. If there's anything unexplained, it would give them too much embarrassment to be able to try and make up something and then found to be wrong like this. But anyway, you see how it's time and time again. If something's can't be explained by scientists, then it really doesn't exist. Even though there's a particular bird that could fly so long, so many miles, and 60 million flappings of wings or something like that. So many flappings of its wings per minute, and it's just a phenomenal amount. And they analysed this bird and they said it's impossible, even though the bird's doing it. So it's a wonder of nature. So many amazing things are there, but we'll never give credit to Mother Nature, or to speak of the Supreme Lord that's orchestrating her, that's controlling her. So in this way, Prabhupada has given us a vision beyond that of the path of lessons, as he calls it, so that we can one day come to see the Lord face to face and know that there is more to life than as people are washing, working, shopping, paying the bills, just to drop dead one day. What a loss is that of the human form of life. So that's why it's so important that we give everybody the opportunity, or at least being out there as much as we can, to this way, then we can see there will be a collective consciousness of people taking on higher and higher. The karma now. That's everyone, and they all know what it means. Seriously. It's all like it. But before it was kind of so we're getting there. But still we've got a long way to go. So thank you for your attention. That's okay. That's not thank you for your attention. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Government ki jai. Nitai Gaur